Norway Chess 2025 has easily been the most thrilling, hard-fought and dramatic tournament in recent memory. We witnessed monumental upsets.
Magnus Carlsen resigns, second Armageddon loss in a row for the world number one.
Raw emotional outbursts, trash talks,
Point around move third, I offered Fabio a draw and he kind of declined. I'm not really sure why. Maybe he's just frustrated with all the losses to me, but
agonizing near misses,
Oh my god, the heartbreak!
and comebacks that defied belief. The open section featured a formidable lineup of 6 of the world's strongest players. Carlsen was the clear favorite coming into his home tournament. He arrived with a clear objective: to prove he was still the best by far and reaffirm his dominance, especially after stepping back from World Championship pursuits. This also marked the first classical encounter between Magnus and Gukesh since the Indian prodigy claimed the world crown. The chess world had been waiting months for this clash of generations. This year, the format of the tournament was brutal. Unlike traditional tournaments where draws are common, this format turns every game into a decider. A drawn classical game immediately triggers an Armageddon tie-break. The tournament began with a highly anticipated classical encounter between Magnus Carlsen and Gukesh, marking their first meeting since Gukesh's World Championship victory. Carlsen emerged victorious in this initial clash. The game saw Gukesh correctly sacrifice his knight to advance a passed pawn, but a critical error with Queen h6 check proved decisive.
Oh my goodness, and the bar shoots up!
The bar shoots up. Magnus is now winning as the black queen cannot get in the circuit of checking the white king and touching and keeping its contact with the white rook in the corner.
And the handshake. Magnus Carlsen does it.
Gukesh resigns. What a game that was. That was game of the year so far, I'm going to say.
But this wasn't just any victory. This was a statement. A 5-time world champion showing the current title holder that experience still matters. But if round 1 was tough for Gukesh, round 2 was nothing short of a disaster. Arjun Erigaisi delivered a crushing blow, handing the world champion a second consecutive loss to start the tournament. 2 losses, 0 points, and the entire chess world watching to see if the youngest world champion in history would crumble under pressure. But here's what separates champions from the rest: they don't stay down for long. Gukesh hit back after 2 losses to defeat Hikaru Nakamura on his 19th birthday. Meanwhile, Carlsen followed his sensational win against Gukesh with 2 back-to-back losses against Nakamura and Wei Yi in Armageddon games.
No, wow, stunning!
White gives away the rook to throw away black's coordination. White promotes. Magnus resigns.
But then he came back strongly with a classical win against Arjun. By round 5, Carlsen was leading the tournament by 9.5 points. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. Round 6 was an absolute cinema. Gukesh faced Magnus Carlsen again. Initially, Magnus played this game with near flawless precision, but Gukesh refused to back down. Despite facing a difficult position, he kept finding the only moves to stay alive in the game. Then, in a shocking turn of events, Carlsen blundered his knight.
Magnus blunders!
Rook takes knight! This is over! You're up a piece!
And Gukesh, still needing to play with surgical accuracy, seized his moment and converted the advantage into a stunning victory.
Line all the way. Oh my god!
Magnus banged the table and the pieces fell over. Look at that devastation from the world number 1. Turnaround. Historic moment. Gukesh wins against all the odds.
On the second board, Fabiano came to play with a feeling of revenge against Hikaru Nakamura. In the first round, Caruana had refused the draw offer from Hikaru. Then Hikaru managed to win the game from a drawish position.
point around move third, I offered Fabio a draw and he kind of declined. I'm not really sure why. Maybe he's just frustrated with all the losses to me, but
in the 6th round, Caruana gets his revenge in Armageddon. While everyone was focused on the Carlsen-Gukesh narrative, Fabiano Caruana was quietly building something special. He defeats Wei Yi in a pawn-up endgame that should have been equal and takes sole lead in the tournament for the first time. Gukesh also picks up classical win against Arjun and moves up to 2nd place. With just 3 rounds to go, Carlsen finds himself in 3rd place. To make matter worse, Carlsen lost against Wei Yi in Armageddon in next round.
Magnus has blundered! He's blundered his piece!
What in the game? He reacts! He can't believe it!
But the drama was about to unfold in other two boards. Nakamura takes down Gukesh, and Arjun takes down Fabiano. Suddenly, Nakamura climbs up to third place out of nowhere. Tournament was so tight that, on last day, 5 players were still in contention with just one classical win separating them. The final round, all eyes were on the top boards. Magnus Carlsen faced Arjun Erigaisi, and Gukesh was pitted against Fabiano Caruana. The scenarios were clear. Carlsen needed at least a draw to secure the title, while Gukesh needed a win and for Carlsen to falter. Carlsen, who led the standings going into the last day, for a while had a lost position against Arjun. It looked like there was a real possibility of Gukesh winning the tournament.
So I'm a little lucky that I'm not just losing on the spot. But since I'm not, or I'm pretty sure I'm not, yeah, the game goes on and it's actually very interesting.
In his board, however, he was slightly worse, which means in current scenario, it was Fabiano who would win the tournament.
Sakurana. He does it. Is Fabiano Sakurana as Rook takes C6 is on the board.
Oh, fabulous Fabi.
However, Magnus somehow escapes and even got winning chances. Eventually, they both agreed to a draw. Meanwhile, on another board, tragedy was unfolding. Gukesh suffered a heartbreaking final loss.
He's about to be flagged. Make a move.
And we
resigns.
have handshake. Ooh.
Magnus Carlsen is the Norway Chess 2025 champion. After Fabiano Caruana defeats Gukesh, it's heartbreak for the world champion though. The young Indian Grandmaster was so close, fought so hard, and actually had a path to a draw right at the death. But he blundered, he let it slip with no time on his clock.
Magnus Carlsen won the tournament and claimed his 7th crown on home soil. This event showed that the new generation is already matching the very best of the present, and the full generational shift isn't too far off. Although Magnus is still Magnus.